Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is going to be our last live with Alana and DQ because I am leaving my post at Treehouse. And I guess DQ can come back if he wants to. I just won't be here. But anyway, here he is. Welcome.
Hello. It'd be pretty awkward if I was just sitting here without you, I think.
People will still ask you questions, I'm sure. You just sit quietly and wait for the questions to come in.
You're a good question referee.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I've made a few mistakes before. There have been some questions I've let through that probably shouldn't have gotten through. as I recall from a few weeks ago.
Didn't we have a fart question?
I think that was Paul, one of the cat engineers. He did that on purpose after he saw the last set of questions that got through that shouldn't have gotten through, and then he thought it would be funny to join in with people.
Yeah.
Thanks, guy from the cat engineers.
We've learned to expect anything in this forum.
We truly have. And so here today, we've left it sort of open-ended for people. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in now. We are answering behavior questions, not medical questions, behavior questions. They can also be questions about Daniel's hair, which I think is looking amazing these days.
Well, it hasn't been cut in 3 months, which I'm sure everybody can relate to. So I've just learned to adapt my style.
You've been maintenancing.
Yeah, I can shave the sides, but this mop top is just doing its own thing now. So.
Well, let's see. I had a banner here. Oh, there it is. Now taking questions. So bring us your questions. What do you guys want to know? I see some people watching. Somebody must have a question about cats.
I'll tell you one thing. The people who are hiring me privately right now, a lot of them are dealing with cat fights that didn't exist when they were working. But I'm talking about like cats fighting cats. They're resident cats who used to be friends are now butting heads, and not in a good way, not in the head bump way, but a lot of competition is coming up. And what I think, my theory is that because we're home more, our cats tend to compete more for us, right? So during the day, when we are usually at work, our cats usually just sort of like, they flip the airplane mode switch on, and they just sort of like tune out and rest. And now that we're home, it's kind of screwing up their circadian rhythm a little bit. Their sleep cycles are changing, and they're quarreling.
So
anyone out there?
So you don't feel like that it's just that we're noticing them more because we're home? Like, do you think these fights could have been going on anyway in the background and people just didn't know?
I think it's unlikely, honestly, because when you're not home, the sense of self-serving nature that a cat has, right? Cats tend to want to do things that benefit them, and when we're around, they're looking to benefit from us, and they're looking to co-opt our spaces. And let's just face it, we tend to be a little bit more soft with our cats when we're home all day. We give them an extra treat here and there. We give them a little bit more attention, and that's noticed. So cats are then going to vie for that attention. In some situations where I've had people have cats that were separated from each other, maybe they're like through a baby gate or a door, the advice I would give them, and this is hard and scary advice to give, but it's kind of a necessary piece in introducing cats, is that you have to take the risk of allowing them to be in the same space. And if you're not there, sometimes that actually eases it. Their motivations are a little bit different. So I've seen successes in cats. It's got to be the right cat. You can't throw two cats that have been mortal enemies together in a room and then go get coffee. Like, that's not going to end well. But if you're seeing progress enough with cats that you're introducing, and little by little, incrementally, you're seeing that their reactivity to each other is reducing, then heck yeah, take a chance and give them some space where you're together when you're not there. And I think that's the opposite is what's bouncing back on our people right now, is that they see their cats fighting, then they intervene in those fights. They go ahead and they like break the fights up, and it's a whole big dramatic event every day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's been happening here too. Like I see them, they get into it, and I'm like, hey, and then they're like, ah. So, and it's interesting about the competition because I have one, and he's got real FOMO. Like because Pinkle sits in my lap every time I eat. Every meal she's in my lap. It doesn't matter if she's getting something or not getting something. She wants to be in my lap. And so he comes in and he sits in the corner, and then he has this look on his face the whole time, like just watching her. And if I begin to put food towards her mouth, his eyes get even larger.
Yeah.
It's like they're watching each other to see what I'm doing.
Well, like how predictable is it to live in a box all day? I mean, you're basically looking for any variation in routine, and if it's a benefit in there, holy shit! Like they're going to be like, what? How do I get that too? So I mean, what do we do, right? What should we do? How do we make this better? I'm just going to launch into it. You have to sometimes in these cases switch up your routines a little bit and start not separating cats, intentionally. Well, you are doing it intentionally, but in a way that they don't read your intentions. So maybe you have cats splitting off different activities during the day that you have now foreseen as times of the day when they are competing. Food puzzles and interactive toys, even reconfiguring spaces that you have where the cats are bottlenecking into these tensions. It fans out their needs for space from each other, but also gives them a chance to self-regulate that space without your intervention.
You're a big fan of food puzzles, I've noticed.
Huge fan. Big fan. I'm surprised that that's not how I eat now. Daniel, what are you eating? Oh, well, there's a burrito wrapped inside of a bag, inside of a box, inside of foil, and my hands are behind my back, and I've got to figure out how to get it open. I mean,
we also need to slice your burrito into pieces, and then I need to go hide it under your bed and in your closet.
Yeah, a little here, a little there.
Yeah, and then like it's dinner time, Daniel.
Could you imagine if we had to do that every day to eat? We'd be different human beings.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting. Like as long as you knew you were going to get food.
But they need it. They need it.
They do. I ruined one of my food puzzles the other day. I accidentally put it out in the rain. I was cleaning out the cat room, and I put it outside, and it rained, and it got all wet, and it was made of wood, and then it molded. Yeah. I had to throw it away.
Yeah, it's time to toss it.
It's gone. Anyway.
I think I know that. Is that the one with all the little holes in it?
It's like shaped like a bone. It was actually a dog puzzle.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
They figured it out really easily. They all knew how to solve it already by this point. The dog would just be like, shh, and then the cats would come in. So they've got a harder one now with drawers.
They've got some good ones now for those Einstein cats, the ones that are really, really smart.
You mean Pinkle? My cat Pinkle. Hey, come on, you've seen her.
Wait, what? Pinkle. Oh, yeah, Pinkle.
Yeah, Pinkle. She's an Einstein cat. You've seen her. You've seen her work.
She can drive a tow truck.
She drives a truck, right? And wears a leather jacket. Come on, that's fine. Anyway, we have some questions coming in. If you're ready. Yeah, so we've got Susan. My cat steps on my head while I'm sleeping. How do I get her to stop this behavior? She can sleep standing up. I think that would help.
See, the hardest behaviors to stop are the ones that happen when your guard is down, right? Like the sleeping stuff is a point of contention with so many people, but the trick is what the heck do I do? Because I'm under the covers, right? We have to recognize what the cat is doing and stepping on your head. It feels malicious, and that's why we ask for it to stop. It also wakes us up, right? But your head, your body, you're basically in a pheromone soup, basically in your bed. It's an inviting, warm place smelled that's filled with familiar and comforting smells, but also in the morning your cat wants let's get this shit rolling, right? Let's get the day going, and you're sleeping. How dare you? So your cat is just trying to stir your your actions into something that benefits them. Most people in that situation are reactive to that, right? We get mad, we yell, we push them off the bed, whatever it is you're doing, even that though it seems negative, registers as we're getting closer, and it doesn't act to or mark in this cat's brain that, oh, like I did something wrong here. So what do we do? Gosh, I mean, maybe you replace activities. Maybe you get up. Maybe I don't know. I honestly, it's a really hard one because it's not something that's not an abnormal behavior that we're trying to stop here. It's simply a cat nesting and interacting with some person that gives them benefits. So this may be a situation where I say you just got to like bite that one. That one's take a big bite of that sandwich. It's part of living with cats.
I don't think I've ever had mine step on my head. I mean, I've got 4 now, and none of them step on my head. When Pinkle wants me to wake up in the morning, she actually just 1 foot to touch me.
I mean, think of this logically. Your head is in the pillows, right? When a cat steps in pillows, that doesn't give leverage. So a firm head to stand on that might rebound off your head to go somewhere else in your body. They're looking for a firm place in a place that it gives them an insecure footing, right? So soften your head, wrap your head in pillows, wear a helmet, wear a beekeeper's helmet.
That sounds inviting to sleep in. I started laughing a little bit when you were talking because I remember, although my cats don't sleep on my head, I recall a day where my ex was asleep, and I guess my cat was sleeping on my chest, and I jerked in my sleep, and it scared Niles, and he leapt into the air and landed on my ex's head, and luckily he was sleeping face down because all the nails went to the back of his head, and I remember the scream, but even at the time I started laughing because I sound like such. Uh-oh. You still have, oh, there. Are we back? Okay, yeah. So anyway, that's why I was kind of like, because I'm still laughing at the sound in my head. Let's move on before I sound like a total. Student also wanted to know, you mentioned the idea of cats living in a box all day. Are you DQ, are you pro indoor-outdoor cat, or do you think it's all right to have indoor-only cats as long as you're keeping them entertained?
I think that this is a situational situation. Some of us live in places where cats can go safely outside into yards that are enclosed, and there aren't the barriers aren't as soft as some of our backyards. In other words, cats that can traverse into other yards, other places, streets, meet animals, meet other cats that are in those areas. That's a dangerous situation for most cats. You have to kind of like, I hope it works out that he goes out every day. If you live in that situation, I don't recommend that. If you have a cat that can go in and out and can benefit from the enrichment they receive outside each day and still be safe and come in and they have a routine with you enough where it's not impeding their lifestyle, then I do think it benefits them. I live in San Francisco. Most of my clients live in apartments, so they can't let their cats outside. But the dilemma is we have invited our cats to live in a large enclosure, right? A house with borders and walls and corners and places where they get into tension with each other. So that only gives you, in some cases, the alternative to build up and around on your walls. So I've been to a lot of homes where I walk in and I'm like, where's the cat stuff? This is all your stuff. And it only goes up to my waist. Furniture in a home isn't very high if you're just a human being without cats. If you're inviting cats to live with you, you have to accommodate both their needs for territory, not only on the ground, but at all levels. but then you also have to make up the difference in enriching their lives. So if you're not incorporating play into their day at least several times, that leads cats to not have the release, not to have natural behavior, not to feel free, not to to feel competitive. So all of these things are what the symptoms of living in a box. So I'm not saying, oh shit, your cats live in a house. I'm sorry, like that's not going to work out. Let him outside. I would never go from 0 to 60 like that. But if this is a cat who's going nuts in your house and can't get enough attention and is trying to get outside, maybe you might put a harness on that cat and walk that cat and experiment with that part, knowing that you have to do it. You can't take a day off, just like you would walking a dog. So when I mention living in a box, it's just really my way of explaining the dilemma that we put cats in and our failures in being able to balance out their lives living in this enclosure that we chose to live into.
But we can leave, usually. Not this year, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's... Our houses are nice places and they're nice and safe for our cats, but it takes a lot of adjustment for them, and they do adapt. But some have a really hard time, and they have a hard time when they have to live with other cats that are still also trying to get their little piece, so.
All right, well, there you go, Susan. We have some more questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring them.
They're right here. Hi, I have 2 3-year-old neutered male, 2 cats. One's a 3-year-old neutered male and a 10-month freshly spayed female. They've been in the same house for almost 8 weeks, but have yet to groom each other or lie together. Does this mean they don't see each other as a pack, or is this hope that they will one day? There is no hissing or fighting, but not a lot of love either. This is from Angela.
I think what's important to recognize with cats is they're not pack animals. They don't gather in groups. They don't collaborate. They are solitary hunters. And in colonies, they may each have different statuses among that colony, but they mostly are working for themselves, to survive for themselves. That's why they're animals that cover up their poop and pee, and sometimes even their food and their water. They're trying to preserve their own safety. Now, your cats, just because they're not cleaning each other, that doesn't mean they don't love each other. It just means it's not something that they are socially like binded together to do at the moment. It's not part of their contract yet. I think maybe in time, if they piece out if they have differences, they'll piece those out, but also just acclimating to a territory where there's singular scent, group scent, every cat contributes. So one day maybe they'll groom each other. I don't know if it's a goal really to look for. Just I think amity among your cats and tolerance is a high enough goal to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, the cats, I think, need some time to meet each other, right? It's like if you put 2 people in the house together.
Yeah.
Like when you watch those people on island shows, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they groom each other within days, hours.
8 weeks is it's 2 months or so, but it's still like maybe they're just not groomers. Maybe they don't groom. It's not inclined to do it. Well, where there are some cats that groom everything, including their humans. I lived with one for a long time. He just kept licking my hair, and I kind of liked it. It was cute. But then at some points, gets annoying. But maybe they're just not oral fixated cats, and that's not something they're going to do at the moment. Don't worry about it. Just, if they're getting along and not fighting, congratulations.
Angela said thanks. Thank you for your question, Angela. We have a question from Olivia. We have a 7-year-old female cat who we've had since she was a kitten. Just adopted a 3-month-old female kitten who is so curious and chases our older cat around who is just not interested and is a bit stressed. Will they ever get along, and what can we
do? Yeah, definitely not the first person to bring a kitten home to an adult cat. And not the first person to have an adult cat say, yeah, I'm not into it. You know, their motivations are very different. Kitten, basically, their job is to play, 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 and to push the limitations of their own bodies. You know, climbing, jumping, um, and their circadian rhythms bounce up and down all day long. I'm awake, I'm sleeping. I'm awake, I'm sleeping. They seek physical uh, play and that kind of, wrestling and stuff from other cats their age. And if they don't find cats their age, they find whatever cat is around. And most adult cats just aren't like aligned with that motivation. So, will they get along is a question that's based on repetitive introductions and situations that don't end with the adult cat's threshold being breached. So, when I explain this to people, I say, well, your older cat has a bubble around them, and we don't want that bubble to be popped by the kitten. So we have to have situations where, yes, they do come together each day, but your job as guardian of both cats is to manage the kitten and allow the other cat to just feel free enough to say, screw this, I'm leaving, or screw this, I'm going up high. Kittens have one thing that I think allows us to have a little bit of control in the situation, and that's the fact that their play drive is so over the top, they'll literally redirect into any activity. So if you've got an adult cat and a kitten, your job is to keep that kitten redirected at all times, and to make sure that your adult cat at least can not have that bubble popped, but can establish a threshold and an inhibition level with this cat, with this kitten. What's okay and what isn't. And what ends up happening most of the time is that kittens just breach that so fast that the adult cat makes up their mind, and then they're just like, hell no, I don't care. This is never going to work. I'm going to hide, 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 hide. So um, a lot of it is based on that particular adult cat's ability to tolerate, but also your intervention in keeping the kitten busy and their needs met, and also their play drive. You know, you need to work that off all day long. And if it isn't, well, they just bounce it in other directions, and that's where adult cats become targets.
So escape routes, space.
Circular escape routes. So we don't want a cat running up into a cat tree, but then being cornered up top and being like, oh crap, how do I get down now? And then the kitten just like whoop comes right up and it's in their space too. Um, Sometimes you have to manage space. Sometimes you have to allow a room for an adult cat to be when when stuff gets hot. You know, in the evening time when cats are very active, you've got to allow one cat to have their own space. But you do need them to be. You don't want avoidance. You don't want them managed completely away from each other. You do have to have them have integrations of small positive experiences that don't escalate to the point of that cat going, ah, damn it, hiss, all that. You know, like we want these cats to their perceptions can be managed, and that's up to us.
So lots of small positive interactions. Try to keep the negative down. And
I'm gonna go all the way back here because you're going all the way back
you
here.
know, I leaned back and I realized it made me very small in the the camera. This is why I'm sitting. It's like it's the difference between just a couple inches. Like this is like 5 inches back and forward. It's like if I'm on an airline, you know, like the difference between like apparently death and life, according to them, in the seat back position.
Yep.
Clearly, it does make a difference when you're a webcam. Well, anyway, hopefully that will help, Olivia. Let us know if there's anything else we can do for you. We've got another question here. So this one is from King John. I have a problem with wildcats taking over my backyard as a way to make my property less inviting to them without harm. Sounds more like maybe like a TNR question, but do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the trouble is if you make your yard less inviting, those cats are still out there. They're still doing their thing. They're just
We're
shifting
talking
around.
about like feral cats who are not habituated to people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they're not socialized with us, then they're going to do their thing out there regardless. So, look into if you're local to Chicago, I'm not sure where you are, but look into your local trap, neuter, release programs, get those cats neutered and spayed especially. But as far as your yard goes, I mean, deterrents are hard. Like, so there's so many deterrents out there that can scare and harm cats. And for a yard, I can't see how big your yard is or what fencing you have and all that kind of stuff. But you don't want to put anything that injures cats. That sometimes the scarecrow kind of water spraying.
The sprinkler thing.
Sprinklers are effective. Sometimes citrus. I know some of my clients who live out in the East Bay here, San Francisco, have put citrus peels all over there.
Oh, peels! I was going to say I thought they just grew like citrus trees. Like, well, that's fine for you.
No, they just peeled them and left them all over. There are plants that some cats don't like. I can't think of any offhand that you can plant that aren't poisonous but are kind of repulsive. Yeah, I mean, I can attest to this myself. I live in a yard. Well, I don't live in the yard, but the yard outside has
they
high
let you
fences. Sometimes I live out there. High fences, and we've got cats that just traverse those fences all day. And then sometimes they come into our yard. We have a cat downstairs who does go in and out, and we hear them screaming at each other. Last night I was out there with a spotlight trying to find the culprit. But outside of cat-proof fencing, which is very, very expensive, you need to have some things that just make it an unpleasant place to be for them. So I think, like, of all the things, those water spraying things seem to be less lethal and more, just a pain in the ass. And your plants get water, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Watered plants are good. I'm noticing here that John is also saying, unfortunately, there's no TNR in the Panhandle of Texas. Because I'm noticing in the question, right? He says wildcats taking over the backyard. So the TNR would definitely be the number one option here. Because if the cats, I mean, if you take let's say you took all the cats away, if there's more cats, they're going to come in like a vacuum effect, right? They're going to take it over anyway. So really what you want to do is stop these cats from reproducing. And if they're there, then the other cats won't come in. So I'm looking up a couple of resources here. John, if you want to email us, you can totally do that at info@treehouseanimals.org. And someone here can see if they know of any resources in Texas. But like, I just did a brief Google search for TNR, Texas, and Panhandle. And I am getting a couple of things that come up. So it might be worth a Google search to you. But if you don't find anything, or as even a first step, why don't you give us a call or email here at Treehouse, and we can see if we can point you in the right direction, because that's really going to be your best option. And I will put up our information there. You can take a look at that and contact us, and hopefully that will get you started.
Real-time advice. Look at that.
Woo! But yeah, I mean, you know what, though, even if there isn't TNR, like, you could always, I know it's a big project to say get it started, but like, really what you need is a trap and a vet, and see if a veterinarian would be willing to help you out or do any kind of volume discount. I don't know what your finances are like, but there's a lot of ways that you can kind of try and help. Even if there's not a group specific to you, you might be able to have one coming from a little bit farther out. So, and it's worth it, I think, for the health of the animals and also your comfort at home. Yeah. Maybe.
I agree.
Okay. He said, thanks, guys. Yeah, I have to get a trap. Yeah, there's a lot of places. Go ahead and email us at Treehouse, and I'm certain somebody here will put you in the right direction. You can just let them know that you heard it from me, Alana. And if anybody needs to be filled in, I'm happy to let them know. All right. I don't see any other questions that have come in right now, so we are taking more questions. Daniel, invite people to ask questions.
Questions are good.
So we've been talking more about COVID and cats, right? So you're seeing a lot of trends with cats kind of arguing with each other about attention. So even though people are home more, the cats now want more attention because you said they've shut off their airplane mode. I like this idea of airplane mode on cats.
Yeah, it's kind of like half in, half out, functional, but not, not all the kind of like turn the eyes off but keep the ears on. Yeah, the other thing I'm noticing is that people are thankfully adopting cats and taking risks, adding more animals to their homes. And some folks are adding puppies because, their kids are home and kids, okay, well, time is right. We're getting that puppy because now everybody's home to take care of it, right? But then there's a cat who's been living there for 9 years, and that cat is like, who the heck? So I've been doing a lot of counseling with people on the cat side, and then pairing them off with dog trainers, or at least communicating with their existing dog trainer about what's being done for the puppy, because a lot of it is puppy advice, not cat advice. The cat, in most situations, a cat just needs to be, just needs to feel as if they can just be in a room and make free choices. And puppies are impulsive and jumpy, and they want to play, and they play bow, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff, and they're yappy, yappy, yappy. And, a cat who's never met a dog, who's been living in their house this whole time, is just like, what have you done, right? So that's also kind of plays into what we were talking about before. It's like, cat still needs choices, still needs escape routes, still needs routines preserved, and needs their own space for their own sanity. Um,
Well, with the space, the thing on the space here, we just got another question in. So Jen says, my cat only scratches one chair in her house, won't use scratching posts. We've tried everything we can think of. So I'm assuming the question here is, how do we get the cat to stop scratching that one particular chair?
Well, it has begun. I mean, once the scratching starts on that chair, it's now a chair that has been proven a desirable place to scratch. Likelihood is, no matter how much you deter it, it's still going to feel like a place that needs to scratch. The thing to consider is that chairs, particularly ones that we sit in too, are very valuable to our cats. They see those as places where they want to show ownership over that. Also, they're usually just the right height and just the right material to sink your claws into. So, sometimes the scratching post choices that we make aren't correct for our cat's particular preferences. So I guess, long story short here is, I think you need to just surrender to that chair being the scratching post right now, because it's kind of started. But make sure that you're providing places around the house that are in to scratch, that are in significant areas, because we a lot of times put scratching posts in places that aren't really significant to the cat. A significant place to a cat is the threshold of a room, where a room becomes another room, where a hallway becomes a room. When a cat enters, a lot of times what they want to do is scratch as soon as they enter, to just show ownership immediately. So threshold areas like that are important. Places that we sit, scratching posts aligned around that chair might provide an even better place to scratch. And then maybe we can work the chair out of the picture. But this is, one of the parts that people hate about having cats, is their destruction of our furniture. But it's part of the deal. They need to scratch. They will scratch places that have the right substrate to do so. And sometimes deterring them works if you can put something on it that makes it hard to scratch, or not a surface that's, scratchable. Trim your cat's claws. I would recommend doing that on the regular. The company fell away, which makes diffusers that you plug in. Comfort Zone is one that is supposed to reduce scratching, but also they make scratching attractants too that you can spray on certain places to draw them into. So something to check out.
I feel like I have a sample from them somewhere that's supposed to be a scratchy thing, like where they scratch it and it smells good. I'm gonna look into that. Yeah. The nail trimming, I think, is helpful because at least if they do it, then it's not quite as dramatic. I have just taken to only purchasing furniture that if it gets scratched, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I have had curtains up for the last like 6 years,
Oh, the cupboard
and
curtains.
and they have giant holes in them because Cubby just pulls at them and pulls at them in the morning, especially when it's sunny. My understanding is that he wants the curtains to part and open. So he pulls at them and he tries to move them, but then he gets caught, right? So he plucks. So he pretty much destroyed those curtains. So I have now put up brand new like curtains of a different material, and I see him starting, and I'm like, oh no, here we go again. But it's a slicker material. It doesn't have he can't get his, he doesn't hook his claw the same way. So, but I did resign to it for so long. It just sometimes you just gotta eat it.
I bought like the $25 chairs from IKEA, or like the blinds when it's like $50 blinds or 250 blinds. I'm like, 250, they're gonna break them in a week anyway. So sometimes I think because I have cats, I just sort of adjust my furniture to that because then it's less heartbreaking when they actually do something. But I mean, they don't know they're doing it. It's a piece of furniture, so to them, it's just like, what is this? Cool.
It's just another thing, yeah. I mean, the more choices. I think that's the moral of our meeting today is talking about freedom of choice. If a room has one chair that's really desirable, but not many other things in it, that's going to be the focal point.
She just said we've just let him own it. He's a great cat. We'll look at moving other scratching posts to threshold areas. Thanks for the input. Excellent. That's perfect. That's great, right? He owns the chair. Jen's okay with it. She's letting him cat.
Success.
Woo! Ciao. So Daniel, I want to talk about something you mentioned. What is this?
Doorways or portals?
Yeah, because you're saying like they're really like a very high value place for them as a door. Like, why do they see it as a portal to somewhere like interesting? Like, what do you think that is?
I think that rooms in your home have different values, and your bedroom is not a place that, I mean, we all use our rooms differently, right? But bedrooms are places where we rest, and maybe there's some cat stuff in there, so they stay in those rooms with us. But living rooms, kitchens, all offer different things to the cat, different routines and rituals to the cat. Our living room here, I live with 5 people. We converge in that living room in the evening and watch TV. The animals arrive and hang out in that room with us. Your cats notice. So they're not looking at the doorway or the threshold of a room like, oh, I'm going to go into, a portal and another universe. They are essentially like, okay, like they're drawing a territorial line. And we live in squares. So, they can't really, walking over to a wall and scratching a scratching post isn't quite the same as walking into an entrance that leads to another place. Does that make sense?
Still sounds like a portal.
We can get mystical if you want.
I think cats see some magical things that other people don't see, and maybe there's a portal.
I agree.
Something else.
I have cardboard scratchers on either side of my door right here, and then one in my back corner. And that is where Cubby, it's his catharsis place. He plucks away at those cardboard scratch pads when he isn't getting what he wants, when he's hungry, when he is agitated. Sometimes he uses a litter box and it creates a physical sensation that makes him really, really high strung. And he'll go over there and pluck away at those things.
So it's like him punching into a pillow or screaming into a pillow or something.
Yeah, maybe. It's his road rage. His outlet for road rage. But I put them by the doors because if they weren't there, he does this on the door. Like he just paddles away at the door. And it's not that he wants to run out the door and escape. It's just a weird place for him to focus. So the scratch pads give him the right outlet, and it's not just when he's stressed or agitated. When I walk in the door to say hello, he doesn't walk to me. He goes to the scratch pad first, marks the moment, and then says hello.
Like marks the moment in his head? Like, is he celebrating kind of?
Marking the moment in real time. Like, this is a moment to celebrate, and I'm going to scratch. Because scratching releases pheromones, and scratching is a positive thing.
Whenever I try to give Pinkle a treat, I feel like she's marking the moment, because instead of taking the treat, she stops to thank me. Is that like the same kind of behavior sort of thing? Like, she does. Like, I give her the treat. Like, she's like, let's say she really wants this treat, and I give it to her, and she's like, and instead of taking it, she turns, and then she begins rubbing her face and head onto my hands and onto my head, and then she comes back for the treat.
Marking the moment. Yeah. I mean, marking is rubbing too. So when let's say I show up at somebody's house to do a consultation, and we go walking around the house, showing me around different rooms and stuff. Cats will trail us sometimes, and they'll mark on me because I'm in a new place. I'm a new person in a new room, and they're like, "What's going on? This looks important." So they're marking the moment. Marking the moment.
Maybe we should start doing that as people. Maybe we would enjoy like moments a little bit. Is that how you would do it? Like, if I brought you that burrito you were just talking about, instead of taking the burrito,
I'm not sure how humans would mark the moment. I think a lot of people are marking moments right now in terrible ways.
Well, way to turn this the wrong way. I just want to thank Daniel. Thanks a lot for putting the damper on that.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot. There's a whole world going on outside.
You just marked the moment in a terrible way. Way to go.
I almost did a spit take.
Susan added that her cats like to sit in doorways so that they can see what's happening in all the different places. And then she started wondering, what would the other kitties' universe look like? A dream universe with fields of fresh catnip and salmon treats all around.
Yes. To answer your first question, doorways, especially doorways that, like, there's always a spot where your kitchen meets a dining room, meets another room. Like, it's like a three-way stop. And that's where cats like to be, because it's where they can direct traffic. Little Cubby, my munchkin, who I don't know where he is right now, he purposely will sit like this right in the kitchen doorway, because we have a dog, and the dog is like, hell no, I ain't walking past him. Napoleon Bonaparte, he's just kind of like, don't pass. So vantage points are very, very.
He's gone. Oh, there he is. You were gone. You were saying something so important, and then we marked the moment by cutting you off. Vantage points are what?
Vantage points are what, like, that's the bomb to cats. Where can I sit where I can see who's coming, and watch the whole world in my universe, in my portal, in my realm? How can I view all those things from a safe place, or from a place of power? And cats like my cat Cubby, or some really, really confident cats, use their power. They sit in a spot where, like, yeah, I guess you're stepping over me. Like, we'll all be in our kitchen making food, 3-4 of us in there. Cubby walks in, just goes right in the middle of the room, lays on his side. In the middle of the room, you all have to step over him, but he's not moving. And that's just classic cat power move right there.
Cats should write a book about negotiation. If they did, what would it be called?
If they wrote a book about negotiation, it would be called "Thank You, Sir, May I Have Another?" No.
My Spot?
No, it would be called "Gimme."
Ah, yeah, that's a good one. There we go. I think we just came up with your new next project.
Gimme, gimme, gimme.
The Art of Negotiation by Cats.
Mm-hmm. The Art of the Deal.
No.
No.
The Art of the Meal, I think, is what it would be called.
The Art of the Meal. Oh my God.
There you go. And then we could get your little food puzzles in there.
Yeah.
It'd be so good. We should mark this moment right now, thinking about your new project.
Mark the moment.
King John says it would be called Everything Is Mine.
I agree.
Yeah, probably that too.
Yeah.
That too. I just had a little guest come in. I thought you might want to see. Not entirely.
Who do you got?
Oh my god, look at that little doggy face.
She was just poking me to get into my lap, so I thought I'd let
Does
her.
she have an underbite? Yeah.
Yeah, she's always had one.
No.
I found this little pumpkin on the side of the road one day, 15 years ago. And you know what she hates? Kisses. Oh, what?
Yeah, she's starting to get whale eye.
Usually she makes like a.
Yeah.
I guess she's on camera now. She wants to look like she's nice. Whatever. Susan has one final question. She says, do you think that cats believe we are their pets? Do they gather to discuss weird human behaviors? Well, I mean, cats don't really gather, right? I guess they do, but maybe they don't want to. Do they talk to each other? What do you think?
I don't think they believe that we are their pets. I think they believe we are their servants. You know, to be a pet would be like that, you know, that we're like, I don't know, that sounds, doesn't make sense to me in that way. I think, you know, cats look at humans as providers of services, and they give us the reward of intimate contact that we call love, and they determine that love through a negotiation of trust with us. Do they gather to discuss weird human behaviors? No. They social distance the way we should, and they keep their judgment internally.
They keep their judgment internal?
Yeah.
I feel like it's on their faces.
Well, yeah, but they don't speak it.
Don't they though? So the funniest thing I ever saw one of my cats do, and maybe you can explain this to me. I was in the bathroom, and my cat liked to visit with me in the bathroom. I have a very small bathroom. What'd you say?
I'm lining up with you.
Oh, in this. Okay, so it's a very small bathroom. It's like a 5 foot by 5 foot bathroom. Like it's really tiny. And so I'm in there, and one of my cats, who notoriously does not get along with Pinkle, so he's sitting there, and Pinkle does not understand the concept of doors closing. Like she wants to open them, and it's a sliding door. So she gets her feet in, and she goes wham, and she slams the door open, struts through the door, and then she looks up at me, and she sees Mr. Pants, and she goes, ugh, and literally turns around and just walks right back out. I would say that's judgment.
Not of you. Just judgment of like, oh, he's
Well,
here.
Yeah, of him. But I couldn't stop laughing because I've never seen a cat be so ridiculously expressive about just hating something that she saw right in that moment.
I could show you a video of a cat reacting to something that, like, it's just a little video. I saw somebody like offering like ice cream to their cat, and she literally goes, like she dry heaves and then walks away.
Oh goodness! I wish I had this on video. Like if I had just the right angles on this, because her face just.
Yeah.
It was glorious, and I will always remember it as one of my favorite moments.
Repulsed.
Yeah, she was. That's the perfect word for it. Repulsed. John says his rescue is 15 also. Yay. They're great. They're great. She's my oldest now at 15. I lost my 20-year-old cat in February. So now my oldest cat is 14. Almost 14. Dog's 15. And then I've got three youngins that I've picked up from various places. Mostly Treehouse.
Cubby's 13 now, I think.
Is he?
Yeah.
With his little legs?
Little nubs.
Little nubbins. Well, we have just about 8 minutes or so left. So, Daniel, did you have something specific you wanted to talk about? Or if we last chance to take any questions? We have someone watching from the Philippines. Hi. Thanks for watching.
Did I have anything else? I mean, all I can say is if you need help, I'm available. So if you like what you heard today, gocatgosf.com is where you can find me. I do these Zoom interfaces with people all day, all over the country and now all over the world. Helped somebody in Australia and Singapore just the other day. That's always a little trippy. It's like 3 in the morning and she's talking to me.
You're 3 in the morning or her 3 in the morning?
Her 3, me.
She stayed up late for you.
12 noon. Yeah, she needed help. So,
wow.
You know, so if you need help, give me a call.
And Daniel very much knows what he's talking about. I've heard him help quite a few people and has helped me myself and given me a lot of really great thoughts and understanding on cats, which I definitely appreciate. So,
just trying to change minds.
Change minds to, what is it? You always say live in the meow?
Yeah, to live in the meow, right? So, you know, I've said it like a couple times already, like marking the moment. The moment. That's what we have to pay attention to. At this very moment. And that's what our cats are doing.
They are, it's true. Daniel also has some of the loveliest business cards. They feel like velvet in your hand.
That's on purpose. Yeah. I wanted my business card to land in your hand and just be like, whoa.
Ooh.
I'm not throwing this away. This is like therapeutic.
You succeeded, I think. I pet it like a cat sometimes. You should have glued some hair onto the back of each one too. That would really might have creeped people out. Actually, don't do that. Yeah. Well, if we have no other questions and we have no other things, then I suppose we will wrap up here. But Daniel, it has been a pleasure having you on this show so many times. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much for having me.
And for everybody else, this is going to be my last show with Treehouse. I am moving elsewhere, but this has also been a pleasure for me. I'm sure if you check out Daniel, you can probably find us doing some more stuff in the future as we plan on doing that. So I enjoy working with Daniel, and I think he likes working with me.
We're going to produce some comedy. And yes, I do.
I think we should. I think we should produce some comedy. It's what I'm already doing on the side anyway. So let's get Daniel into it. But everybody, it has been a wonderful pleasure for me. Thank you. And Shannon will be continuing with some of these lives, and other people at Treehouse will also be continuing some of the Treehouse lives. Thank you, Jean. She said bye, and good luck, Alana. I get sad. If anybody needs anything before I start crying, here is our information. And I think you guys all know about Treehouse, so if you have any questions, let us know. And then I suppose we're good. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you another time. Bye.
See you later.